Hi, and welcome to our video for this week. Tonight we are going to be using the new Poppin By stamp set. I just think this is super cute. It's got some great dies that go with this also, and you will see these used for the cards that we're putting together today. But they are just super cute. So we'll be pointing out some of the items that you can die cut using those as we go along. If you have any questions or want to join my email list, please go to inkycreationsbylinda.com, and we are going to make 3 cards. If you would like a card kit to make these cards, then you can use this QR code to place an order of $35 or more, and I will send you, it is $40 or more, and I will send you a card kit to make this these 3 cards. So with that being said, let's get started with our first card, because these I think are going to take just a little longer than normal, but it's a super fun set. So the first card that we're going to make is going to use a red cardstock base. I did pre-stamp some of this ahead of time just so you wouldn't have to watch me die cut some of this out. But this is a really cute set that has quite a few die cuts in it. So I tried to do some of this ahead of time just to make things go a little faster than normal. So we are going to have a card base that is real red, and this one is going to use, the measurements for this are 5.5 by 6 1/4, and you're going to score it at 4 1/4, and then you will have a piece of DSP for the inside and then one for this top flap. So let's go ahead and adhere those to our card base. We'll do the one on the inside first. I love, this is actually paper from the, let me get the name, because I don't remember. It is Floral Delight, but it is the paper from that we're going to be using for this. And then on the next card, we're going to be using a different paper out of a different set, which is kind of fun. So you're just going to adhere that down like that. And then we will take this other piece that is comparable to the one that, or it's the same paper that we put down here, and we are going to put this on this flap up here. So let's use some adhesive. It is storming outside, so if you hear a loud clap of thunder, that is why. So hopefully it won't interrupt anything that we do. All right, and then you will have a piece of real red paper that is 4 by 2 3/4, and then a piece of designer series paper that is 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. And before we adhere this on here, I'm going to stamp on the bottom of this designer series paper. So let me pull this off of here, and we are going to stamp the words "popping in to say hello" just along the bottom. So let's get our black Memento ink and just kind of stamp that in the center. There we go, to make it centered on the bottom. So, all right. So now I'm going to take that and adhere that to this real red piece of cardstock that you'll have in your kit. I think this set is so cute. I think it would be fun if you were doing like a movie night or something. You could start it off by making some cards or some 3D projects with this, and then make your popcorn, and then use this to decorate I just think it'd be really fun. All right, and so then we are going to adhere this to here, but being careful to only put our adhesive up here on the top. So let's put some glue up there. And we are just going to try and center this. I think that looks pretty good. All right. And then you will have in your kit these die cut little film strips that are just, and these are made out of smoky slate, but I just think these are so cute. And so what we're going to do is you will have a piece of white, basic white cardstock that is 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4. And I'm actually, before I glue this down, I'm going to adhere these to this because I want to be able to cut off the excess before I glue it onto here. So let's kind of glue these down. There's not really a rhyme or reason. I did try to kind of center them. I don't know how good we can get, but we will try to do that. So I'm going to flip these over, and you could use your fine tip glue, whatever you want. I'm just going to use hopefully a little dab of glue because you don't need much on this, because you're going to, on one side at least, you're going to attach one of the little popcorn buckets on top of it. So then I am just going to put this onto here, and then we will take the next one and put a little bit of glue on it. And I'm just kind of putting it in the four corners. Obviously, you could put more on here if you wanted to, but I'm trying not to have glue go everywhere. So that's why I'm just doing a minimal amount. Oops. And then I'm going to kind of put these two edges like right next to each other to where it kind of butts up against it. There we go. And that one actually works out to where it's pretty close to the end. Whoops, and it's sticking to my fingers more than the paper. So let's try this again. There we go. And then let's do the other side. So let's put a little bit of glue. I think I have a bunch of glue on my fingers right now, which is always tricky. So we may have to use our take your pick tool to kind of hold things down so that I don't pull everything up whenever I move my hands. There we go. So let's pick this one up and put it on the other side. These little film strips are so cute in this die set. Just really fun. All right, and then we'll do the last one. And on this one, I'm only going to put glue on the one side because I'm going to be trimming it on the other. And so I don't want to have, whenever I trim it, I don't want to have glue going everywhere. All right, so we're just going to do that one side, and then we will glue this down, and then we will cut the excess off of that end. So we'll kind of push that down. Okay, and then let's just use our snips and kind of cut off this excess, and then we'll put a little bit of glue on that end. So there we go. There's one side. Let's do the other. There we go. All right. So, and then if you, I'm not going to actually worry about it because I'm going to be putting something on that side of it. And so now we're going to take this and we're just going to put this kind of not super close to the Poppin Up to say hello, but maybe just a little bit above it. Actually, I may move it up just a little bit more because I want to leave room for our popcorn bucket. So let's just put some adhesive on the back of that. And you can use whatever your favorite type of adhesive is. I love the colors in this. Anytime you can mix reds and blacks and yellows, especially whenever it comes to thinking about popcorn, it just kind of makes for a fun card. All right, so now we're going to do some stamping, okay? So I used, let me get the right colors. I used Real Red and Daffodil Delight because this paper has the Daffodil Delight in it, and I thought it was really cute. So I'm going to stamp these, but then I've already pre-stamped some of them, so I'm going to show you how that's going to work. So let's stamp our Real Red first. So cute. I just love this little popcorn bucket. It's so much fun. One of the things that's really fun is obviously it has a little, a little face on it, but it also has little legs. And in this set, we're not going to use it on this card. We'll use it on the next one. But there are little glasses you can put around it and little shoes for their feet. So just a really cute die set. And you'll get to see that in just a few minutes. All right, I'm going to clean this off because now what I want to do is I want to stamp another one with the Daffodil Delight. And then what we're going to do is we are going to cut the popcorn piece of this out, and we are going to glue that on top of the red popcorn. Because obviously, unless you're getting flavored popcorn, most of the time we don't have red popcorn. So with that being said, we're going to cut that out. So with the magic of TV, these have already been stamped. And what we're going to do now is we are going to take our snips and just trim around the yellow. And then we're going to glue that on top of the red. So I'm just going to take this and kind of go just above the edge of the popcorn bucket and kind of trim that out. And then I will use some glue dots to attach that to the top of the red. Okay, so there we go. We can discard the yellow bucket unless you want to use it later. And then we will take some glue dots. Let's grab our Take Your Pick tool. I can't talk. And I'm just going to put some glue dots behind here. Whoops, I still have some glue on my fingers, which is not helping matters any. There we go. And we will put that there. And then let's just take this. And what I do is I kind of line up the edges of the two pieces of popcorn so that one is on top of the other. Okay, so whenever you get that done, then we're going to take this and we're going to pop this up on dimensionals and put it right here on our card. Okay, so let me grab some dimensionals, and I am actually using the edges of some that I've been using for a while because that way I don't have to open up another pack yet. I'm sure I will later tonight, but I don't have to right this second. All right, so now I'm going to just put this on our thing. And then for the inside, what we're going to do is we are going to, you have a piece of black cardstock and a piece of white. And this is, the black one is 3 3/4 by 2 1/2, and the white is 3 5/8 by 2 3/8. And what I'm going to do before I glue those together is I'm going to use my Daffodil Delight ink, and I am going to take this cute little stamp that's in this set, and I am going to stamp one of these little guys just in the upper left corner, which is kind of fun. And then I am going to glue that to here, and then we will adhere that to the inside of our card. Okay, so let's get some adhesive and put along the edges of this. Okay, and glue this to the black. Whoops. And this is just going to leave like a skinny border around it, but it gives you just enough to where you can write a little note and tell someone hello. Now, to adhere this to the inside so that it doesn't show, what I'm going to do is line this up like this and then put my adhesive on the black and then make sure this is lined up where I want it to be. Try to center it, and then I'm just going to take this piece and press it down and then bring that up like that. Make sure it's straight. There we go. And then we will just press that down, and then I'm going to use some of the party dots to decorate the front side of this. And by the way, when your order is $40 or more, I will include everything you see in what we are doing tonight, so you will get enough of the embellishments to put on your card, as well as any ribbon that we use. You will get that in your kit also. So I'm just going to put a few of these around just to kind of spruce it up a little bit. The party dots are cute because I think these are technically pumpkin pie, but it kind of goes with this Daffodil Delight and just kind of gives it a little bit of extra something down there. So, all right, and then we'll just stick another one right down there. All right, so this is card number 1. So let me know what you think. At the end, I'll let you pick out your favorite card. So this is card number 1. Okay, popping in to say hello. All right, so let's go to card number 2. This one is kind of fun. It is also a real red card base, and let me put this where I can find it so that I can know that this is our card for tonight. There we go. Put it right there. All right. So this one also has a real red card base, and then we are going to be using, this one is using the paper from the Impressions of Bloom paper. I believe that's what it's called. I know it's that suite. It's one of our new online exclusive suites. Okay, your card is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we're going to take your DSP and we're just going to put this on the front. The DSP is 4 by 5 1/4. So we can go ahead and glue that down. Again, I love reds and yellows together. I just think they always look just kind of crisp. Gives it a nice, fresh appearance. And especially whenever you mix your blacks and whites and all of that in there with it. All right, and so then you will have a piece, let me get my measurements. You will have a piece of black cardstock that is 2 3/4 by 3 1/2, and a piece of white that is 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. And we are going to stamp on this white piece before we glue it down on here. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way because I am going to put some scratch paper underneath this. There we go. This is one I use all the time so that you can see that stuff is already on it. So we are going to be stamping some of these little popcorn kernels, or it's not really a kernel because it's actually popped, but we are going to be stamping some of those onto this white cardstock, which is kind of fun. So this time though, instead of using the Daffodil Delight ink, I'm going to use the Darling Duckling, and we are going to be using it. This is one of our new in colors. If I can open it, there we go. And I just love the way this particular cardstock looks. So I want some of these to be like off the paper and then some to be on. So we will just kind of randomly stamp these around. And then we're going to do another little fun. All right, so we'll do that. And we can leave the center kind of blank because we're going to be putting stuff on top of there. So let me close that up. And then what we're going to do now is we have a stamp that says Pop, which is kind of fun. And so we're going to use our Memento black ink. Here it is. I started to say, where did it go? But it's right in front of me. We are going to use this, and we are just going to stamp the word Pop. And try not to get any halos on here. That's always the trick sometimes. And we can do them in different angles. You don't have to make them all the same. So, and some are going to be off the page and others are going to be on. So it's however you want to do it. Okay, I think that's enough of them. So let's kind of set that to the side. So now what we have is this is our white cardstock with our little popped popcorn. I guess that's probably the best way to say that. And we are going to glue this onto our black cardstock. Okay, super fun. I think the set is just so adorable. So many fun things you can do. This would be great for if you wanted to give somebody a gift and use this as a tag. Anyway, lots and lots of fun ideas come to mind. All right, you will also have a piece of real red cardstock that is 4 by 3/4. And what we are going to do with that is we are going to use, let me find where I put it. Here we go. We're going to use our black and very vanilla gingham ribbon, and we are actually going to wrap this around this red cardstock. So I want to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this, so I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal and just put some of that on the back. Let's see if I can get it to go all the way to the edge. There we go. I'm actually just going to run it all the way across, and you'll see why in a second, but I want to kind of center this on this piece of cardstock and just wrap it around the back. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. There we go. And then we're going to trim this. There we go. We actually do not have any bows on our cards tonight, which is kind of unusual. I usually love to put bows on them, but we're not going to be using that tonight. And so now we are just going to adhere this kind of about, I don't know, maybe 1/3 of the way down, not completely. And then we are going to take this piece that we just did and put it up on dimensionals and put it there. But before we do, you're also going to have this rectangle die cut. And this came from the Textured Notes dies. And I love those dies because there's so many nifty little rectangular shapes that you can use. And we're going to use the same stamp that we used on the first one that says Poppin By to say hi. And we are going to stamp that on here. Or I'm sorry, popping in to say hello. I don't want to misquote that. But such a cute little saying. And we're just going to stamp this in the center of this rectangle. There we go. Put the lid on this so I don't put my finger in it, because I have been known to do that once or twice. All right, so now what you're also going to have in your card kit that's kind of fun. So this is where the fun comes in with what all comes in this die set. So let me dump this out so that I can let you see it. So you will have a little film strip, and this is die cut for you in black, but this is all part of the Poppin In bundle. And we are going to take this and we are going to kind of put this here. And so what I want to do is put some glue dots on the back to kind of adhere this to where it'll sit at the right angle. So that's kind of what I want it to look like. So I'm going to flip this over and use a glue dot and kind of attach this down so that it holds it in place. Okay, I know my glue dots are about to hit me in the face. Here they are. And I'm like, where did they go? All right, so it only takes one or two. So we're just going to put one right there. There we go. And then that's all I'm going to do, because the rest of it will get attached on the front side. And then I'm going to use some dimensionals and put this on the bottom, and then we'll place our top piece so that we make sure we leave enough room at the bottom. So let me grab some of the small dimensionals, and we will use some of those to make sure that we have enough here. And then you could also put a dimensional on top of that right there. I didn't do that earlier, but we can certainly do that just to make sure that nothing moves out of place. All right, so then we will just take the backs off of those. Sometimes I like to put the glue dot on first just to hold this into place. All right, and so now move that out of the way, and we are just going to place that right here and try to center it. There we go. And I'm trying not to hit the phone so I don't make you dizzy. All right, and then we'll use some dimensionals on the back of this, and I'm going to use the larger ones and put this on that part. There we go. And again, I'm just using the edges of some of the dimensional pages that I had already used up. So, because if you're wondering how I got these shapes, that's how. All right, let's make sure we get it right side up. And then place this to where it is straight. There we go. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do, this is the fun part. So we have these little shoes. Are these not adorable? And then we have these little glasses. Oh my goodness. All right, so we are going to use our popcorn stamp, and we are going to use real red ink on this one. And it's going to be very similar to what we did on that first card. We're actually going to use that technique kind of on all three of these. But we're going to use the real red ink, and we're going to stamp it here. Whoops. And then we're going to clean our ink pad, because then we're going to stamp one in the Darling Duckling ink. And that way we can overlay our popcorn color. So now let's do one with the Darling Duckling. And I'm going to stamp this one this way so I don't run off the paper. There we go. Okay, and then I did these earlier so that you, again, would not have to watch me do all of this. But here we go. Here are, if I can pick them up, here are our two stamped images, and we are just simply going to cut off the top part of this again, like we did on the last one. So I'm just going to cut along the lines of the popcorn bucket so that we can place that on the red popcorn bucket. And that way our popcorn is actually the Darling Duckling color. Okay, so then now what we will do is we will take this, and I am going to use glue dots on this and put it on here just to give it a little bit of dimension, but I'm not wanting to use dimensionals because I don't want it to go up quite that high, because I'm going to pop the entire thing up with dimensionals here in just a second. All right, so then we're just going to line up our edges and put that there. Okay, and so now we have this, and it looks like we have our yellow popcorn. And what's nice is whenever you pop it up on the glue dots, it kind of makes the popcorn look like it's spilling over the red bucket just a little. So I'm going to use dimensionals on the back side to pop this up on our card. So that's why I really didn't want to pop up the popcorn, because then it gives it a little more height than what I was really wanting. So we will just use our smaller dimensionals and put some back here. Here we go. Did I get them all? Nope, I missed that one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this kind of in the center. Yeah, I think that looks good. All right, and then here's what's really fun. We have these little shoes, and so we are going to use glue dots to put these shoes on the feet. And then we will also use glue dots and put the glasses on the little popcorn guy. Super, super fun. I just, you know, this is one of the things that I love about Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to use one glue dot. I mean, you can use more if you would like, but I'm just going to use one. Now, the one thing that is kind of interesting is his feet are going to look like they're going in the opposite direction because of the way the shoes cut out of the die. But I guess you could always cut two so that you can have them going in the same direction if that bothers you. I think it kind of adds to the quirkiness of a popcorn bucket having shoes, and it's just cute. All right, and then finally, let's put our glasses on this guy. So I'm going to ball this up just a little. Oops, let's make sure we're on the back side. Here we go. And then we will put this just right, center it right around his little eyes. Okay, there we go. All right. Now for this one, I decided instead of doing a bow, which you could do that, and you could do it with the black and white ribbon, which would be really cute, but I decided to use the adhesive back sparkle gems. Yeah, that's what they're called. I wanted to make sure I gave you the right name. And so I am going to use these just to add a little bit of sparkle to our card, because you can never have too much glitter I'm convinced. So, and I love these because they kind of end up with, some of them have a little more black than others, and others, but regardless, they all have the glitter aspect, which is really fun. So then let's put one up here, and we'll do one more kind of over here. Okay, so this is card number 2. How fun is that? Make sure you can see it. So that is card number 2, okay? All right, so now for our final card, we are going to make one that has, this one's a little bit trickier, but not too bad. It is a white cardstock base, and as you can tell, there are lots of little pieces, which are always fun. And so this one is, let me give you the measurements. It's 4 1/4 by 9, and you're going to score it at 5 1/2. And so you will have, whoops, it goes this way. So you will have, that's going to be for our stamping, quite a few little pieces, but I will have them all in a little baggie for you so that you don't have to feel like you have to dig everything out and worry about it getting lost. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is you will have, let me show you how this opens. So this one actually opens like this, okay? So you will have a piece of real red that is going to be placed at the edge of this, and this piece is 2 by 4 1/4. So let's go ahead and put that down on our card base. Okay, and then on top of that, you will have a black strip that is also 4 1/4, but by 1 1/2 inches. Okay, and that is this piece right here. All right, so we're just going to put this in the center of this red. So let's put some adhesive on the back of this and glue that down. And just put that in the middle. There we go. All right, now for this white piece that's left over, and this is 1 by 4 1/4, we are going to make this look like a piece of film strip that goes down. So in order to do that, we are going to be using these sticky notes that I have right here, and I'll show you what we're going to do with these. But I want to have one piece of the film strip that says pop, and then I'm going to put the kernels in the other spots. So I am going to put one piece of the, or one sticky note right there, and then another one. I want the opening to be about 1 inch. Okay, so then I'm going to use my scratch paper again, and we'll pull this up carefully so that we don't remove that. And then I am going to take our Memento black ink, if I can find it. I know it's here. Here it is. It was hiding underneath our embellishments. All right, so we're going to take our Memento black ink, and we are going to just stamp the word pop. And some of it will be overlapping, some of it won't show all of it. So it's however you would like your words to show up, okay? And then we can put the black up because I don't think we're going to be using that anymore. I am going to leave the scratch paper here so that we don't end up with ink all over our glass mat. And then I'm going to use the Darling Duckling ink for this one. There we go. You can always tell whenever it's a brand new ink pad because it doesn't want to open real easy. All right, and so now we are going to use this other cute little popcorn kernel that has a really cute look on his face, and we're just going to stamp him at different angles. Okay, so we'll do one there, and then we'll do one kind of at the bottom. All right, so that's the stamping we're going to do for that. So let me move our scratch paper so that you can see what we have. And now we are going to take this and we are going to glue this into the center of this piece. Okay? This really isn't as difficult as it looks. It's just got a few extra pieces than normal. But they're fun and they make it look really cute whenever it's all said and done. All right, so we're just going to glue that into the center. All right, kind of press that down for a minute, make sure it adheres. All right, and then you will have these 3 black strips that are 1 by a 1/2 inch. Yes, that's correct. And what we're going to do is we're going to place these to where they're kind of in the middle of each of these so that it looks like a film strip. Okay, so we'll just put a little bit of glue on each one of these and put these down. So we have one there. Tell you what, I'm going to glue all of them at one time and then place them on here. And then this one. And so we will take this one, and I want to put it to where it's like right where that pop is, so that it looks like it kind of cut off the pop where that ended up being. And we'll do the same thing on the bottom of this one. So cute. I just love the little expressions on these popcorn pieces. So much fun and just super cute. And then we'll do another one down here. If you wanted to be super precise, you know, you could measure each of your squares out. I obviously just kind of winged it as we were doing this, but you could definitely do that. All right, and so then on this piece, this is a piece of real red that's 4 by 3 1/4. We're going to adhere this right here. And so we will put some glue on the back of this. So much fun. All right. And then you will have a piece of white that is 3, make sure I'm telling you the right, 3 by 2, and then a piece of designer series paper. And this is from the flower packet, which is just super pretty. That is one of our online exclusives. And so this is also, is this the same? Yes, it's 3 by 1 3/4, so it's not quite the same. So this one is 3 by 2, and this is 3 by 1 3/4. Before we put this one down, we're going to stamp on it. So again, I'm going to use my scratch paper, and we are just going to stamp some of those cute little, make sure I get the right one. We're going to use the same stamp that we used on the little film strip part, and we're just going to stamp some of these at different angles on our little white sheet that we have for the top portion of this. And we'll put one here and maybe one more right here. Okay. And so, you know what, while we're doing that, we'll let that dry there for a second. And while we're doing that, we'll go ahead and stamp our red and our yellow. Actually, we don't need scratch paper for this, but we will stamp our red and yellow popcorn bucket. And then I actually already have those cut out for you to show you how we're going to do that. So we could do the first one in yellow. This has already been cleaned, so we'll do it first, and then we will clean this stamp so that I don't mix my red and yellows. Let's grab our cleaner, clean that off, and then we will stamp a real red popcorn. There we go. And then now, using the ones that I made ahead of time so you would not have to watch me die cut this. And I mean, honestly, I think the dies in this set are probably worth your money, especially with the little glasses and the shoes. But if you didn't want to buy the die cuts, you could fussy cut around these. So again, we're going to cut out the yellow popcorn with our snips and just cut around that and do just like we did on the others earlier. And I'm going to use glue dots to adhere these together. So let me grab those. For some reason, I feel like I can't pick anything up tonight. And I feel like I have ink all over me. So my hands are a mess. So tonight it really is an inky creation. So, all right. So then we are just going to adhere these together. Okay. So now that this has had time to dry, let's go ahead and put some glue on the back of this. And then we are going to put this at the top of our real red cardstock, leaving an even border around the edges. And then we will take our designer series paper and do the same thing. And so we're going to put, you just kind of want to make sure that the sides line up. It's okay if there's a little bit of gap there because we're actually going to take this piece of real red that is 3 inches wide by a 1/2 inch, and we are going to put this right here in the middle of this to kind of close that gap. Okay, so let's put some adhesive on the back of that. You could just leave a gap if you're making these on your own. I don't know. I just decided to do it this way because I wanted that red to kind of pop up. And so I decided to do it this way, but you could obviously, whoops, change that if you wanted to. All right. So then you will have these 2 circles. So this real red circle was punched out with the 2-inch circle punch. And then this one was die cut with the stylish shape dies. And so we are going to use the little stamp that says, "No one's better than you." How much fun. So let's use our black Memento ink. Okay, and we're going to stamp that in the center, or try to. I feel like I can't see tonight over my phone. Not sure why. The angle should be the same as it always is, but for some reason it's kind of throwing me off. All right, and then we are just going to glue this onto our red circle. So I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive in the middle of this, and then put this on here and try to center it. There we go. All right, and now what we want to do is we want to place this on our card right here, and then we are going to take this little guy and put him right here. And this is one of the reasons I put the red strip here, is because I wanted that Darling Duckling popcorn to really pop up and show. So I am going to put the circle on first, and then we will put this guy up on dimensionals. So I'm going to just use glue dots to attach the circle so that we don't have too much bulk. So I'm just going to put several glue dots on here, or you could use just regular adhesive if you wanted to. Sometimes I like to use the glue dots because I feel like, I don't know, to me they kind of raise it up just a little bit, but not too much. All right, there we go. And then we are going to pop this guy up on dimensionals, but what I want to do is only put the dimensionals over here and then put a glue dot right there. So let me get one more glue dot and put it right here in the corner. And then we will use our dimensionals. I'll use the ones that are a little bit bigger and kind of just scatter those around. We'll use one more down here. Let's take the backings off. And then put him right there. Okay, so now we're going to just decorate this with our adhesive back sparkle gems. And so let's see, we'll do one right here, and then we'll do another one maybe here. We'll do another small one over here. And you know what? I'm going to put another big one because I got some of that halo effect on there, and I always hate it whenever I do that. So embellishments are always a great way to cover up your mistakes, and they always make things look a little better. So here is card number 3. So with that being said, here are our 3 cards for today. Here we go. I'll move this down, and let me know which one is your favorite. And also, if you would like a card kit to make these 3 cards, then if you will place an order with me by next Thursday, which is, oh my goodness, what will the date be? Today is the 17th, so I think it's the 22nd. If you place an order for $40 or more, then I will send you a card kit to make these 3 cards. It will include everything you see here, including the embellishments. I will include enough for each card, and it will have ribbon to make this one card. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment, and I'll be happy to respond. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great week, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Have a good day.